Good morning from the Athletes Biosecure Bubble at the 2020 Virgin Money London Marathon. Welcome to our third press conference. Today we are delighted to have two-time Olympian and European and Commonwealth medalist Steph Twell, and joining her up on the top table is the 2018 British Marathon champion Lily Partridge. Just to remind you, this is a socially distanced virtual press conference. Everyone is wearing bump technology that ensures we keep 2 meters apart, and you can see they're separated also on the tables in front of us. Before we begin, can I please mention a few housekeeping notes? Please submit your questions into the Zoom chat. I will then call on the media to ask your questions to Steph and to Lily. Please keep your camera on throughout and your microphone off, but please turn your microphone on when you're called to ask your question and turn it off afterwards. Thank you. So Steph, Lily, welcome to the 2020 Virgin Money London Marathon. We're delighted to have you with us. First question over to Steph. During our socially distanced run yesterday evening, you chatted very honestly about the challenging time since April, but how delighted are you to be stepping on the line of a marathon on Sunday?
Hi James, it's absolutely fantastic to be here today. I think since January it's been a long drought of not being able to race. So for the London Marathon to hold this opportunity, it's kept me really optimistic. It certainly kept me motivated in training, and it was hard having goals removed as an athlete, as an elite athlete, when my instinct is to race regularly, every few weekends or every few weeks. It is sort of my job to race. So it was tough to have that goal removed and to know how to focus. But for sure, now that London's on and they've brought an amazing elite field here today, I'm just excited to be here and ready to race.
We're excited to have you. So Lily, I follow you on social media. You've had an interesting kind of journey travelling to try and find different locations to train. You've recently relocated to Derby. How have you found this period to get some consistency in your training?
It's good. I mean, we planned it as much as anyone can plan anything in 2020. It's been absolutely fine. We've moved nearer to Ben's family, so the kind of trails and that were sort of ready-made. We knew the loops. It's been normally for marathon training, I train in the south of Spain. So I suppose that's been different, training in the UK, but we went to Font for a month, so had some normality.
Thank you, Lydia. I think we can now open up to our media. So if you've got any of our media out there that would like to ask Steph or Lily a question. Matthew, are you there, Matthew?
Unmuted microphone, please.
I think you might need to unmute your microphone, Matthew.
I didn't actually have a question ready, but I'm happy to ask one. James, a question for Steph, really. Steph, I wondered, after competing for Britain for so long since you've been a youth and having success as a junior, I wonder if you feel like, as a senior, you've now found your perfect distance, having moved up to the marathon.
Thank you, Matthew, for the question. I certainly feel like there's a lot to explore and to grow in this distance. This is going to be my only third marathon, but I've known from a very young age that the marathon would be something that I would eventually turn to. I've always loved the long run. I actually love training for the social aspect as well, and I think the marathon is a beautiful event as a community event that really supports just being out in the outdoors, and I love the training. So that's always kind of been a string to my bow. I've never been afraid of the hard work. But I certainly think that my 1500, 5K and 10K background is something that can really complement championship racing. And we are here at the British Champs this weekend, so I think for me that's something that I want to kind of use my experience and my tool skills to really develop in the marathon as well. But I'm still a very young, fresh-faced marathoner, so this race here is an opportunity for me to explore if I can grow in this event as well, so I'm still learning.
It's a good question, Steph, and also to Lily as well, in terms of messages to junior athletes.
Yeah.
Both of you were very successful junior athletes. obviously a world junior champion. But what's kept you going in the sport? You've had your setbacks, Steph, with injuries, great success obviously early on in your career, and you're still coming back better and better. And what's your advice to those young athletes developing through the age groups?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've got to know your why in the sport and to make sure that you enjoy the sport beyond performance-related means. So, like I said, I am very social with my running. I love travelling, but I also mainly love competing. I've got a huge racing instinct that I just feel like I can't let go of. It's part of my personality. But what I would say to any junior is that your path doesn't have to look the same as everyone's. It can be slightly different to each other's, but I think it's never to really compare yourself, but always to keep looking at your future, because at the moment and at certain points in your career when you don't know quite where you're at, it's really important that actually there's probably someone else that's kind of done a similar pathway to you, and you can just kind of step onto that pathway as well. So I've looked up with like the likes of role models like Paula Radcliffe, Joe Pavey, and I've had that to look up to. And I certainly think that as a junior, you kind of think that you only have to be competing well as a junior. If you don't come out of those ranks, you might not make it, but I don't think that's true. And I think running, as long as you have the bug, it can always come back to you, and the running community is an amazing one that you can hopefully find support in that can, you know, help you pursue your goals.
Thank you, Steph. So Lily, obviously plans on Sunday with half an eye on that Olympic standard. Is that something that you're going out on Sunday to get stamped and checked off the list?
Yeah, no, we've got a full eye on the Olympic standard. That's the goal for the weekend, to make sure that I come out of the weekend ready for next year with what I need for the Olympics. So.
Brilliant. I think we've got Rob Mull. Rob, are you there with the question?
It's an open question, really. This is the most unique marathon probably in our lifetimes. No fans will be allowed. What difference does that make, having no crowd whatsoever, when you're running this particular course? Will that affect times? Will that change your attitude while you're running?
Lily, do you want to start with the fact there's no fans there on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, having run London like quite a few, 2 times before this, the fans are typically what sort of make London Marathon. So they will be missed. But hopefully we can put on a good event, and everyone can like tune in with the virtual marathon as well. But yeah, no, they will be missed because it's such a key part of the event.
Same for you, Steph?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that extra support on those final miles, you're always needing that little bit more of an encouragement. But equally, I think the camaraderie between the athletes, we're so grateful to be here. I think that everyone will be enjoying the race on the day, and we'll make the most of it. I know there's a lot of support, and there'll be hopefully a lot of support through the fans watching on telly as well. So it's just carrying that with spirit with us, and yeah, making the most of it to kind of help others be optimistic about the opportunities that might open up in the future as well.
I think there was over 1 million people watched the British Athletics Track and Field Championships, so it could be
Brilliant.
Big viewing figures on Sunday on the BBC. I think we've got Ewan Crumley. Ewan Crumley, are you there?
I am, yeah. This is a question for Steph, and it was just really to see, as you said, it was this is your 3rd marathon, and was to see how much you felt you developed between your first race in Valencia and then on to Frankfurt, and also what you're looking to get out this weekend, and if it would sort of crystallise or help to crystallise what you're looking to do at the Olympics next year.
Great question, Ewan. Thank you. Yeah, so I think all of my build-ups for the marathon have not been a traditional build-up. I think they've been quite short build-ups. I've done that because I've been coming off of more of a 10K background, 10K, 5K background even. So this was probably my first year that I was looking for more of the traditional marathon model of developing more mileage. And so for me, it's been encouraging that I got a lot of work in early on in the year. I've maintained throughout lockdown, and now I'm just starting to progress. And for me, this opportunity is room to grow and still collect experience in the marathon. It's my first female-only race. It is the British Championships, which is really important to me. And obviously now times also do count, which is great. So yeah, just adding some more strings to my bow is really important to me. But I think the difference mainly has been understanding how to manage your body in these times. I think, there has been difficulties with lack of physio access and gym access, and I think that's really taught me a lot of lessons as to how to manage my intensities correctly for the marathon. So that's what I love about the event, is that you can always learn something different on a different race day or different build-up.
You interestingly made a comment yesterday whilst we were running about possibly coming in undercooked, as opposed to the classic of having overtrained into a race or a marathon. Is that going to be a factor in your kind of thought process towards Sunday?
Yeah, absolutely. So I self-coached myself, and it was a conscious decision to make sure that I'm ready for, this is the start of the momentum for next year, and that I'm ready and kind of fresh ahead of a big Olympic year next year. So yeah, this race is here to carry momentum for me, and I think it's important to have somewhere else to go, which is exactly where I feel like I'm ready to go.
Brilliant. I think we've got Mike Rowbottom. Mike, are you there?
Yes, sorry, I'm just here. It's a question for Lily. You were 8th in London a couple of years ago, 2:29.24. Obviously, the course is going to be somewhat different. Do you think you can draw any kind of pluses from that experience, particularly in terms of seeking to get a qualifying time?
So it cut out slightly. So obviously, different course this year. Obviously, 19.7 laps. Yeah. Will that change the way you prepare tactically for the race?
No, I mean, I love laps. I love a loop. So I think for me, it's just using those laps to mentally break the race down. So yeah, no, it hasn't changed how I've prepped for it. But no, I think it would be unusual, but it would be. First time I've ever done a looped course on a marathon, so looking forward to it.
Which pacing groups have you got an eye on at the moment for Sunday?
Yeah, I need to confirm it with Alan, but obviously we need to focus for inside an Olympic qualifying time, whether that be a top 10 or whether that be inside the 2:29.30. Yeah, my run in 2018 got me both of those, so worst case, if I can have a repeat of that, that'd be nice.
Have you got a time in mind, Steph, a pacing group in mind, or are you keeping those cards close to yourself at the moment?
I'm here to race. I think that's my main priority. And I think with the feedback of the course, I think anything can happen in this race. I hear the course is fast, so I don't want to limit myself. It will be interesting to see that feedback and, having that extra support of the refueling, having the tables available for the bottles, which is something new to me. So I think, there's a great opportunity out there. So I'm just here to race.
Brilliant, thank you. Angie Andrews?
Yeah, hi. This is a question for both. Just given the early start time that you have on Sunday, I'm just wondering what the preparations are different for you this time, and also with the socially distanced element of the marathon, will you be able to stay and watch the other races afterwards?
Do you want to take that question first, Steph?
Sure. Well, let's just say I'm going to have to set more than one alarm. I think with the race starting at 7:15, I'm probably we have to leave very early from where we are staying at the moment because we're a little bit out of the city. So I guess it's going to be a very short night's sleep. I think there will only be a few hours by probably getting up about 4 o'clock in the morning. Probably taking my breakfast a little bit later, closer to the race as I can, so that I've still got that fuel in me to get me to that finish line. But I think the socially distanced aspect, I think we've all been well equipped here and have been given a brilliant protocol that we're looking out for each other because we don't want to waste this opportunity. So I think everyone after the race will hopefully try to watch it socially distanced as well, and I think I'm there to witness history myself and use that as inspiration for the years ahead in my marathon career.
Lily, have you thought about the timelines on the hard toast in the morning pre-race?
Yeah, so I think I've got friends that I've discussed this with who are professional athletes in a different sport and what I should do and whether I should I think some people are like, have you practiced getting up at that time? But no, I think it's just a case of the advice that I got was just get as much sleep as you can leading into it, and like Steph said, set a couple of alarms and have everything ready to go.
Cathal, are you there, Cathal, for a question?
Yes, it's a question for both athletes. So just wanted to ask if you could give us a bit of an insight into what life is like in the bubble. I know you probably haven't had too much time yet, but what are some of the strangest things, I guess, to get used to relative to other races and other years?
So Lily, obviously newish to the bubble, but you went bump technology. Anything else strange in the bubble you're within?
No, I mean, it's strange, but I think that just sums up 2020, really, that everything's a little bit odd. But no, I mean, the protocols here are brilliant, they're clear. Everybody's respectful of what needs to happen. We've been tested, I've been tested a couple of times since I've been here. So, yeah, I'm confident that the right protocols have been taken. So, no, I feel safe, I feel good.
Life in the bubble for you, Steph?
I think everyone's pretty relaxed because we know the protocols and it's been really well managed. But I certainly think, obviously a running race is an opportunity to catch up with people and those sort of, greetings, and that's hard. And I think sitting at breakfast certainly feels like you're back in school a little bit because all of our tables are socially distanced. And yeah, the bump technology is new for sure. You almost kind of want to play a game of tag with it just to, see if you do accidentally bump into each other. But yeah, it's a great opportunity that I think, is a way forward for races to compete.
Thank you. Mark Woods.
Yeah, question for Steph. I mean, obviously it's a very unique kind of event. Is there a part of you that's in some way just grateful to be back running, and the enjoyment will come from having that opportunity for after such a long time? Obviously, apart from your race last week.
Yeah, it's a fantastic opportunity, isn't it? I think I've waited for this race since April. I was so disheartened when, unfortunately, it had to be postponed for the right reasons, of course. But I was ready to go. I've invested a lot in this year, so there will be an element of relief that things are getting back to normal. And I think that, for me, is an amazing sign that actually this race is a pivot point for lots of, hopefully, races across Britain and beyond to hold, an event of its nature. So yeah, I am going to enjoy it, and I'll make sure that I smile on the start line and hopefully have that smile with me at the finish line too.
Mike Rowbottom again.
Question for Steph. Can I just clarify, Steph? Do you say you've been self-coaching, or Jeff Whiteman's been overseeing some of your coaching?
No, it's correct that I've been self-coached since March 2019.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
What's the pros and cons of being self-coached?
Oh, I absolutely love it, actually. Self-coaching is something that I think, if you have a bit of experience behind you, which, have been in the sport a while, has taught me that I can really listen to my body and I know how to really analyse that. For me, I'm not afraid or scared to push my body. In fact, I love the hard work. So there's times that I can be a little bit creative and imaginative in my sessions that I design for myself, which I really love. But equally, there's times that if I know I need to back off and a coach hasn't set the rest day, I can also know that I can plan that wisely. Yeah, I think that's the first thing, is you get to plan your own rest days. That's a bit of a perk. But no, I've really enjoyed it. I think it's a really big learning experience for me, but I'm still open to still having coach input. It's just working out the right time frame and the sort of right setup that could work for me.
And Lily, it's Ben's debut on Sunday. Have you been giving him any advice, and probably not giving too many horror stories of how tough the marathon is?
Yeah, no, I think he's sort of, he's looking forward to it, but I think he was sort of when everyone's sort of like, oh, my legs are tired of marathon work, he was like, oh, I think everyone just overplays it. And then, yeah, he was whinging after a couple of long runs and that his legs were tired, so it was just taking the mick out of him.
Who's driving home after the race?
We've already decided whoever runs worst has to drive home.
That seems fair. That's
fair.
So 45,000 runners from 109 countries are running virtually on Sunday. What would be your message to those runners, Steph, that are going to be out there across the world?
I think just to remember that even when you're going through a tough patch, that someone else is going through the same experience as you somewhere across the world at this moment. I think it's amazing to all create our own start lines and our own finish lines, and we've all enjoyed a lot this year. So I think coming through the marathon is a beautiful symbolic version of doing something for you and making something positive out of this situation. So just wish everyone the best of wishes out there.
Same, Lily. What's your advice to people when it does get tough out there at that 20-mile point?
Yeah, I think it's just about being grateful that we're obviously I'd prefer it if we were all here in London doing it together. But yeah, I think it's just knowing, for me personally, like running on Sunday, knowing that there's 45,000 other people going through the same thing. And I just think we need to be grateful at this moment that we have the opportunity, and grateful that your body's healthy enough to run 26 miles and just try and enjoy it, and it's not often you get to run 26 miles around your hometown, so yeah, try and enjoy it. Good luck, and I'll be thinking of you when it's getting hard.
Ewan Crumley. Ewan?
Yeah, thanks. It's a question for Lily. You were talking about your preparations alongside Ben, and given the very different nature of this event, how much more important is it or beneficial is it to have someone to share this experience and build up with?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's like, I obviously normally do my marathon prep in Spain. Obviously have people that Ben's up there, or I have other people there, but it's to be able to do marathon training with somebody and go down and experience that tiredness of have somebody that understands is brilliant. But yeah, no, it's been, I think especially during this particular year, this particular build up, it's been quite crucial to have that support. So yeah, we've been able to, when one of us is struggling a little bit, we've been able to pick the other one up, which you don't always get if somebody's doing a different event, because it's different. So yeah, no, it's been brilliant.
And Mike Rowbottom again.
It's another question for Steph. Steph, you mentioned your competitive experience on the track and how you can bring that into this race. But I'm just interested to know what you feel about Tokyo. Are you fully committed to marathon now, or do you still keep an option open maybe for 10K or something like that? How important to you will actually beating the 2:29:30 mark be on Sunday?
Yeah, really good question. So no, I haven't left the track yet. I still think I've got unfinished business over the shorter distances. But I definitely believe at this point in my career I need to develop my aerobic engine, and that's something the marathon can still do. As I said, I think I'm still developing in the marathon, so I still don't know my full potential in this event, and I still don't think this is the role of the dice or my signature marathon yet. That will come with even better preparation and more experience of the types of training that you can do for the marathon. But I think my racing experience is one that will lend me opportunities to be competitive in the marathon. You still need, like I said earlier, to be fast over the half marathon, fast over the last 10K. So I think I'm putting that whole package together to create that athlete, hopefully further down the line, that will be able to show that signature performance. But yeah, my main aim for next year is to have the best impact I can for Britain at Olympic Games. And for me, I don't know whether that is the 10K or the Olympic marathon yet, because at the moment I've got qualifying times in both, and that's where I need to focus my energy on seeing what is my best impact. So this is an opportunity to see what I can achieve, to know that I can hopefully represent Great Britain as best as I can next year.
Brilliant, thank you, Steph. Well, I think that wraps up our British Women's Press Conference. Thank you so much to Steph. Thank you so much to Lily. We wish you all the very best for Sunday. We will be back shortly with the British Men's Press Conference. We just need to clean and sanitise the area before we bring Chris Thompson and Jonathan Mellor onto the stage. So stay with us, don't go anywhere. There will be a holding screen up. And a big thank you again to Steph and to Lily.
Thank you for having us. Thank you. Woo.
So just a reminder, we're just sanitising the stage. We will be back shortly with Chris and with Jonny. So again, we're just finishing up sanitising the area. We'll be back very shortly with Chris Thompson and Jonny Mellor for the British men's press conference. So hold fire, think of those questions, and again, we'll be putting them in to the chat function or requesting a question. Thank you for your patience. Good morning, back to the Athlete Biosecure bubble here at the 2020 Virgin Money London Marathon. Just so you know, we have sanitised the area from Steph and Lily and the elite British Women's Press Conference. So we are ready for our fourth press conference here. Delighted to have the runner-up in the big half back in March, a former European silver medalist over 10,000 metres, Mr. Chris Thompson, and joined alongside him a fantastic marathon back in February in Seville, 2 hours, 10 minutes and 3 seconds, Jonny Mellor. So just to remind you, it's a socially distanced press conference again, so everyone is wearing the bump technology. You can see around Chris and around Jonny's necks to ensure that they stay 2 meters apart, and hence the distance also on the top tables. Before we begin again, please can I mention a few housekeeping notes. Again, submit your questions through the Zoom chat, and I will call on the media to ask Chris and ask Jonny those questions. Please keep your camera on throughout and your microphone off, but please turn your microphone on when you're asking the questions, and then turn it off after. So thank you very much. So Chris, Jonny, we are delighted to have you at the 2020 Virgin Money London Marathon. Chris, seems a long time since that big half run back in March. How has Tomo coped over the lockdown period, and are you ready for Sunday?
Yeah, no, it's been a while. This week I've had to keep reminding myself I'm actually racing. It's been that long. I can't remember the last time I've gone this long without racing. But yeah, to be honest with you, I took full advantage of the fact that things were locked down, and I really took a back seat, rested up. To be totally honest with you, I just took a chance to really recharge the batteries, and didn't do a heck of a lot. Watched a lot of Netflix, and was a good boy. So once things started to kind of get going, and there was opportunities potentially to race, and obviously London Marathon came on the table, it's amazing how you can forget all those days where you're kind of waking up, twiddling your thumbs a bit, to suddenly training for a marathon, and you're 18, 19 miles into a long run, and things are a little bit normality, bar obviously the mask and all that. But yeah, I'm actually looking forward to this weekend. It may not be the most normal of build-ups, but I've actually just really enjoyed, and it's been nice, especially, let's not show away, I'm a little bit older. Still obviously in my 30s, that's all that matters. But I've actually enjoyed this build-up more than any, and I'm actually looking forward to the weekend probably more than any other marathon because of everything that's happened this year.
Thank you, Chris. Jonny, an Olympic standard back in February. How excited are you to be back on the marathon start line on Sunday?
Yeah, like Chris says, it's been so long, and at didn't know when you were back racing. So I think when I ran the time in Seville, I don't think anyone would have thought the next race would be, in October. So just, delighted to be here. I feel privileged to be on the start line, being able to race. Grateful to London Marathon, obviously, for putting on this event. And, really looking forward to it because it has been so long. And unless you've had a serious injury, this is the longest time, without racing. So, yeah, lots to look forward to.
So, Chris, to you, obviously, you are such a sort of, personable runner and love crowds and people. There's no crowds there on Sunday. Will that impact the way you run, or are they still going to be there with you in
they'll be in
spirit?
Yeah, they'll be in spirit. Yeah, I'm, I don't want to say showman, but I do feed off that kind of, like you say, the interaction, and whether I'm first, last, I just enjoy that kind of side of athletics. I think it's, that is a real kind of allure for me. It always has been. So it will be strange. I don't know what to expect, but to be honest with you, I think whatever is there is going to be better than what I have had, which is because I live in a flat, and my wife has the nice section of the flat for her work, and I've been stranded to the second bedroom. So to be honest with you, being out of that room is fantastic. And so I've already today seen more people entering the bubble than I've seen in the last 6 months. So I will make the most of whoever's there, and they will be annoyed at my constant smiling and trying to, obviously I can't hug, but the constant elbow bumping. So yeah, I think it's going to be cool no matter what for me.
Same for you, Jonny?
Yeah, just what Chris says. I just repeat what Chris
and just
says.
Stop.
He likes the limelight, he's admitted that, but yeah, yeah, definitely.
But the solitude of a long-distance runner, I suppose you do it. Your 20-mile runs, and there's no funfair or fun fan of crowds or people, or so you're kind of used, I suppose, to that, Jonny.
Yeah, definitely, and it has been a lonely time for a lot of people out there. So, especially where we live in the Peak District, you're in the middle of nowhere a lot of the time. So, I've been lucky to have the team New Balance Manchester around me as well. So, I have been in that sort of bubble, which has been great. But yeah, it's been a strange time for us all.
So, Chris, in terms of pacing groups for Sunday, have you got a time in mind? Obviously, that Olympic standard that the man over there has one of them. Is that something that's on your radar?
I won't say I'm jealous, but yeah, I wouldn't mind a bit of that. I think I'm, along with all the Brits here, male and female races. I think everyone's looking for that allure of the Olympic standard. So, I mean, the fact that opportunity now has arisen, I think, has brought a lot of people here. Obviously, World Athletics have extended the date, which has been a massive plus, and obviously London Marathon have gone with that. And I feel like it's like almost like a free hit at it, which is great. It's an opportunity that like 2-3 months ago wasn't in existence. So yeah, it's a without it being like a noose around the neck of it, I think it's I view it as a kind of a free hit, and let's see what we can do. And I think if I can be in Jonny's shoes with the time after the weekend, I'll be ecstatic, because imagine a scenario where there are a handful of athletes with it, and we're looking at a shootout in a marathon next year. I think that would draw quite a bit of fun. And I for one, I love the heads up side of it. I mean, the time's one thing, but a race, I think that would be fantastic. So hopefully I can be in the mix, and pure and simply the aim this weekend.
Brilliant, thank you. Let's throw out to the media. Is someone there with a question for Chris and for Jonny? Cathal, you must have a question for these guys.
I certainly do. Hi guys, just wanted to know, I'm not sure how long you've had in the bubble, but wondering how life is for you in the bubble. What are kind of some of the strange things you're getting used to relative to other races?
Well, Chris has only probably just come into the bubble, so let's go Jonny a little bit longer in the bubble. Anything different? Is this a unique experience so far?
Yeah, it is pretty unique, but you know, it's quite relaxed in here, to be fair, you know, and once you're in, I think you maybe fear the worst sort of coming down, but it is very relaxed, and feel very safe in the bubble, and you know, you still get to see people and interact with other people as well in the dinner hall and things like that. So yeah, it's funny. The bump technology is quite entertaining as well. So, but yeah, no, it's all good, nice and relaxed.
Chris, the bump technology, how will you cope? Because you're an affectionate person with most people you see, aren't you?
I think my wife might use it as a way to like to use it as a flashing to stay away from me, especially at night. I always get my marching orders. But yeah, since I haven't been in it long, but it's funny, kind of. I feel like everyone's like looking, how have you aged over the last 6 months? A few grey hairs. How's the weight looking? But I think it's been. It's not, like I say, it's just lovely to actually see people. Like you say, you know, it's been a strange time, and people beeping, telling me to stay away, and all that. It's interesting, but to be honest with you, it's actually I like the fact we've got some sort of normality.
Question from Ewan Crumley.
Yeah, it's a question to both, and really concerning the setup of the marathon this year. It's almost the perfect mix of track and road running. How much does it affect your approach, or change your approach to the marathon with this current setup?
Jonny, 19.7 laps on Sunday.
Well, it's less than a track, 10k in it, so that's something. But no,
yeah,
I'm seeing it as the positives. You know, it could actually be one of the fastest marathons you get to run. You know, the course is, you know, there's no elevation on it. You know, nice and sheltered from the park and things like that. And I think it'd be a good opportunity to keep, you know, you can see other people ahead of you and things like that in the race. So yeah, I'm looking at the positives. I think if you're having a good day on a lap course like that, it'll be really good. But I think if it's a bad day, it could be quite rough out there. But yeah, just looking at the positives really, and yeah, it should be interesting and a bit of a novelty. So again, you know, something to look forward to.
Chris, with your 10,000 metre background as well, when will you start looking at the lap markers?
I think there's a part of me, I'm assuming, will always be aware of it, to be honest with you. I think, I mean, the kind of, my coach will always say, with a marathon, you're aiming to get bored before you get tired. And it's, and so you're trying to zone out from things as much as possible. So there will need to be a slightly altered mentality of how you sort of break down those laps, and how that you know, manifests itself in like a calm exterior and a calm racing pattern. But like you say, I've already, when I saw 19, I straight away, as you alluded to, broke it down into a 10,000 metres and how I would do that. And I'm sure once we get into the rhythm of it, 4 or 5 laps, it will start becoming a bit of a ticking off process. And if you're having a bad day, those numbers might start blurring into triple figures. And if you're having a good day, it will probably cascade down very, very quickly. But either way, I think every road race, every marathon you do is kind of a unique experience. And so this is going to be no different in that sense. It may be laps, but it's just going to be a unique experience that can be a positive, negative, but ultimately it's still you're going into it with the same kind of mentality as you would any other race.
Jonny, your coach Steve Vernon is a meticulous planner. Has he had you running any 2.1 kilometre loops?
No, he hasn't had his measuring wheel out this time, but we've done a lot on the track, probably a little bit more than normal on the track, to kind of get used to the laps and the monotony of that. But I think where we live as well, we're quite fortunate. It's a lot of trail running, so we're up and down, different directions and things like that. So I think he's quite relaxed, and at the end of the day, it's still 26.2 miles, and that's what we prepared for. But yeah, as I said, we've done a little bit more on the track than normal to get ready for it.
So I think Ewan's got another question, I think, for Jonny this time.
Yeah, Jonny, you're one of the few in the field to have actually raced a marathon this year. Obviously, it would be a big confidence booster, the time you got the 2:10 earlier this year. And how much of a factor do you think that is going into this weekend?
Yeah, I think it obviously is a factor, but there's also some very talented lads on the field as well. So I think there's a lot of people that are capable of running that time. But it does give me the confidence that I have got it sort of in my back pocket, and I can kind of run with slightly less pressure this weekend. So all I want to do is go out there and try and tick off another standard. But yeah, it feels good, and it's that extra bit of confidence as well going into it.
Chris, in terms of taking your mind back to March when you were preparing for an April marathon, how ready were you in April for what would have been London back in April, and how difficult was it to reset the goals and the aims and the body mentally and physically?
Yeah, I think lockdown happened. I think it was roughly within 8 weeks of London Marathon, and everything started being cancelled. And so at that point, you're already heavily into that mentality of preparing. And a lot of the training actually, obviously, is not just well under the way. You're in the thick of it. So to go from big mileage, a good run at big half, to then suddenly nothing was a shock. But to be honest, like throughout my career, right, there's been a lot of times that's happened, but for other reasons like injuries or for different reasons. And so I'm kind of used to that the initial emotion of everything, taking stock and then slipping into a different mindset and a different way of doing things. I think the thing that was hardest, and I'm sure for most athletes, was more the uncertainty of the months in the future rather than necessarily things being cancelled. That's kind of something initially you just absorb, take on board. It was just, when is the next time we're going to get to race a marathon? And I think, and I feel like, without putting words in Jonny or any other athlete, I feel like there was probably an element of relief once dates were set and you could have a vision and a target point to start moving towards. And certainly for me, my wife saw it changing me very quickly. I mean, she referred to me as not looking particularly like an athlete, I think is the nicest way of putting it, and I was looking a bit soft. And I said, don't worry, trust me, it will be fine once things start materialising. And then, yeah, it didn't take long before she was complimenting me that, oh, right, you actually look more like an athlete again. Thanks very much, Gemma. So it's amazing what those set dates can do and change your mindset and start driving you forward. And I think that's experience tells me that it's only a matter of time, and it can change very, very quickly. You just need to be patient and hold on. And I'm like I say, I'm not a spring chicken anymore, and I've had to learn patience the hard way many, many times. So it was just a matter of refocusing in a slightly different way.
You're not that old, Chris. Jonny, over to you.
Thanks,
in terms of getting so close to breaking 2 hours, 10 minutes, is that the focus or one of the focuses for Sunday?
Yeah, I think so. I think I've always thought I'd like to run, and capable of running a 2:0 marathon, so that's kind of not 2:00, obviously 2:09 or something like that. But Yeah, that's definitely. I'd love to, if I can come away from Sunday with a qualifying time, another qualifying time, that's goal one. But if I can get under 2:10, then yeah, I'd be delighted. So I wasn't quite sure where I was at in Seville. I remember asking one of the guys I was running with, sort of Malcolm Hicks. I said, like, what are we on for here? Because, you know, just mine's gone. And he sort of said, we're good, we're all good, we're on track. So that's all I knew at that point. So I look back now, could I have found 4 seconds? I don't know. You just, by the end of the marathon, you're all out anyway, no matter what. So, and then when I saw the sort of clock ticking down, I knew I couldn't make that sub 2:10 then. So hopefully we can do that on Sunday.
So maybe less talking on Sunday and
Yeah.
you might
Maybe,
dip inside it. So let's go to John Sutcliffe, who has a question, I believe, for Chris.
Hi, Chris. I was there at the big half in March, and I spoke to you afterwards, and you said that you were happy to give Bikili something to think about for the first 10K. And I'm just wondering whether on Sunday you're obviously running with Eliud and Bikili and another quite a few top athletes. Is part of you tempted to see how long you can stick with those guys and rustle a few feathers in the early laps, or are you just going to try and pace it a little bit?
I think with hi again, nice to see you since March. Hope you've been well. I think obviously I would love to say yes, but it's a very different scenario. This it's not just a different event. Obviously, a half marathon to a marathon is it's not polar opposite, but it's a hugely different event. And the other problem is the aims that I have and objectives I have going into this race are very specific, than the big half. The big half was very much a race, give it a lash, and it was really once I got into that race, there was definitely in my mind thinking I could hear Bikili struggling, I could hear him breathing, and I was enjoying that, and I thought I'd keep doing that because there was no consequences of a bad run that day, and you could kind of run free. Whereas this is a slightly different. I don't want to put myself in a situation after 10K where I'm hearing them breathe, because there's a good chance I'll be doing the same thing, and I've still got whatever it is 30K left. So yeah, I think. Unfortunately I won't be. Maybe if I was in Jonny's shoes, maybe Jonny should do it. He's safe for the time. I'm not nominating him, but absolutely maybe not. I mean, think about it. But yeah,
I'd get a 5K PB, I think.
yeah. So it's just a different scenario. So I do, like I say, I've got to be a bit more sensible because I've got to think about the second half and the last quarter of the race. But I'd love to say yes, but unfortunately, different circumstances.
Playing it safe. I think we've got Matthew
that's
Brown.
Brutal. Playing it safe.
Thanks, James. Question for Jonny. Jonny, I wondered, in follow-up to the previous question, talking about Seville, how close you feel you are in form? Can you tell from your training to the form you were in prior to Seville? And question to Chris, you had your best time, I think, on your debut in London back in 2014. And I wondered if you can tell from your training how close you are to that sort of form, given that you've run slower in more recent London marathons.
Yeah, so we do have some sort of key sessions that we do in our build-up that maybe indicate, what I feel a similar shape to Seville. Steve always likes to mix things up so we don't compare too much. But yeah, I think the way I've been feeling in training, we did altitude very, very similar in preparation for Sunday as we did before Seville. And yeah, things have been going, I'd sort of say, in exactly the sort of same way. So I'm confident. I benefited this time from having a training partner for the whole of my build-up in Ross Millington. Whereas I've done a lot of them before, sort of on my own. So that's been a real big help. So yeah, I think I'm in probably similar shape, what I feel in training anyway, to then. Obviously the marathon, sometimes you just don't know with the marathon sometimes, but yeah, I'm confident that training's gone well and I've done everything that I need to do.
How different a build-up, Chris, is this from your debut back a few years ago?
Yeah, so obviously I've had a few different marathon goes, mostly in London. But it's the first marathon build-up actually went relatively smoothly bar the last 3 weeks, and I was pretty pleased that debut, 2:11:19 I think it was, and it was definitely a performance off what I'd done building up. We felt there was a good springboard on, but since then every build-up has had something very unique, and I've come at it from a very different angle. My coach Alan Story is he's coached a lot of marathons and elite marathon runners as well as track, and I've been very fortunate he's been able to sort of navigate me into those races from a very strange scenario. Some being one marathon, I think 2016 marathon, I had 8 weeks of running going into that race, literally just 8 weeks, because I'd had an injury and I had some problems, and I still can't believe it. I still feel like that 2:15 was actually my best ever marathon, but on paper it's 2:15. And so every marathon's had gone good, bad, but everyone's had different build-up. This one, again, completely different for different scenarios. I mean, I've not gone anywhere, I've not gone away, I've just stayed at home, and I couldn't compare anything I've done because not one session has been anything like what I've done. So I'm kind of an open book. But the one thing that's different about this than any other marathon is it's probably the marathon I've enjoyed training for the most, and secondly, I'm going into this feeling like this will be a springboard. I still feel like I'm still obviously aiming to run quick, and I feel like there's a chance, but I'm so not putting barriers in the way that could be good or positive, because I feel like whatever happens after the race, moving forward for the next 2, 3, 6 months, I'm quite looking forward to that. Whereas at previous marathons, I've almost been like, get to the line, get it done. I want to go on a break. Whereas this is kind of different, which is quite refreshing for me. So I think everyone hopes they're in shape. You just don't know till you run the race, and there's no reason why I can't. Fingers crossed, like everyone else. I run quick, like Jonny hopes, and we all run quick. But marathon is a cruel mistress. It can throw up anything. We've all been there, and it's you can have the most perfect build up and go terribly. You can have a terrible build up and it goes well. But I've done what I can, and we'll see what happens. Roll the dice.
Brilliant. Ewan Crumley again.
It adds to the occasion to have Mo Farah involved in the pacing and what you guys are aiming for, and is he someone whose brains you will pick and sort of learn from?
Tomo, so Mo is one of the pacers, obviously.
Oh,
on
I missed
Sunday.
who he was referring to. Right.
Have you talked to him about his experiences through the marathons?
I actually haven't. No, I mean I'm actually looking forward to seeing him and hoping he's pacing to 25 miles. But no, I haven't. I'll be interested because we haven't over the marathon. Our paths haven't crossed too much, and obviously he's now working with Gary Locke, who again been friends with both parties since the beginning of my career. And Gary and Paul have been a huge help to me, especially in my younger days and going forward. So yeah, I should pick people's brains more, but I get so excited about seeing people and catching up with them. But yeah, I mean, he's done phenomenally well. I think he's got a lot more to come in the marathon, personally. So it'd be interesting to see where he thinks. But I'm sure it's going to be interesting for him to try and run at our pace. But hopefully, like I say, that means he'll pace to 26 and just finish just short of the 26.2. That would be lovely. Imagine that. I'm not egging him on, but go on, Mo.
Mates rates?
Yeah, mates rates, yeah. We'll have a word with Spencer and co.
And for yourself, Jonny, to have someone of Sir Mo's calibre as a pacemaker, I know you're a student and a fan of the sport. That must be something pretty cool.
Yeah, it's an honour, to have someone like, Sir Mo pacing us. It's quite unique, and I'd say it's an honour and to be privileged to line up alongside Mo and all the other, top runners in the field. So yeah, it'd be, as Chris says, the longer we can go, the better. So hopefully he keeps it going for a while into the race.
On Sunday we have virtual runners, 45,000 of them. One of them is Nick Onslow, who is taking part in his 135th marathon of the year. Wow. So he was pretty busy during lockdown.
Of the year.
How many miles do you put in training in a week, month, and a year? Do you measure it?
I didn't, and then I don't know if I can say that. I have a watch that stores stuff which I don't tend to monitor, so other brands are available, so I won't say the brand. But yeah, I have. It comes sort of every now and again. I will see it on my phone when I just am writing my training diary down, and I will see it, but I don't monitor it. It's just it will be there. So I think if I'm right, hang on, what would it be? No, I'd have to look at my phone. I'd have to get what it is. I'm sure there's been years where I've averaged over close to 100. This year has been nowhere near. This is probably one of been my lowest mileage years, but for obvious reasons. Yeah, I can't give actual. I'd need to get my phone to get actual figures because I don't monitor. I don't think I haven't. Well, I haven't run over 100 miles in this build-up at any point. I only saw that the other week, but that wasn't by design. That's just how it materialised.
Jonny, the same for you in terms of mileage?
Yeah, we tend to record ours weekly. We're not caught up in the data too much, but we have an idea of kind of where we need to be. So I don't think I've hit the heights that I've hit previously. I think some marathons have got up to 120 and higher, but this time I've had a much more consistent block. So it's kind of been, I think it was around about 110 for over a 12-week block. So I probably ran more miles, but on a consistent basis rather than hitting the peaks that I've maybe hit before, which kind of works better for me anyway.
Going back to those virtual runners, 109 different countries are taking part. What's your advice, Jonny, to those venturing out on their first ever marathon?
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic, isn't it, to see so many people from so many different countries doing it. And I think especially if you're doing your first one, but for everyone, make sure you plan that route well in advance, know where you're going, let people know kind of the route. And if it was me, I'd be getting all my friends to say, come and run, even if it's 5K, run different 5K sections of that marathon. If you can get someone on a bike with you, that would be great, for drinks and gels and stuff like that, but enjoy it and remember why you're doing it, whatever that reason is, whether it's for charity, whether it's just a personal milestone, kind of, embrace it and, earn that medal, I guess, go out there and get it.
So the elite men is the second slot, so not the early slot that the elite women have, Chris. So is your advice to the virtual runners, get your run out early and then sit back on the sofa and watch Tomo in action?
Absolutely. We were saying actually before we came on this, we're very grateful with the later race. I think we'd have been half asleep at 7:15. Although I did do one session earlier than that because I had to beat the crowds when I was in Cornwall for a couple of weeks. But it is I'm very glad. But yeah, I think people need to get back for the women and the men's race, so they're going to have to go really early to get it in, because I think both races are down to be incredible races. I mean, maybe you wait till after they're both done and then you run off the inspiration. But I know I've got a job to do, but I do think it's incredible how the Bekele, Kipchoge, Bridget, and the races that have been formed. It's a pretty incredible field, so I think everyone's going to enjoy their popcorn and whatever bar other popcorn is available. I don't know, there's brands, and enjoy the races, because I think I don't know how many hours of footage it's going to be, but I think people are going to find that Sunday's going to be pretty exciting.
I think it's over 8 hours, but what's your mantra when it starts to get tough, Chris? What will you be saying that maybe some of our runners that are out there, they won't obviously have spectators or crowds either, but they won't have a pack of runners or a pacer like Sir Mo, I wouldn't have thought. Yeah. So what's your advice for them to be thinking when it does get tough?
When they're running virtually?
Yes.
I think to remind themselves that everyone's is, although they're not there in person, they're there in spirit, and everyone is rooting for everyone, and it's not just a lonely run by yourself. That's the reason for this virtual race, is the fact you are doing it in conjunction with everyone. And I think when things get hard, that's kind of the point of what we're doing it for, to get to that endorphin rush and that happy feeling afterwards. I mean, think that the harder something is to achieve, the bigger the feeling and the rush at the end. Like, whether it's, I'm sure Jonny, when he finished, his happiness of running the time compared to not was huge. For me, like when I ran my first marathon, the thing I underestimated completely, because I was so focused on the time in 2014, I was so focused on the performance side of things, that I finished and I had this feeling all week, and I said to my coach, I said, I have this weird emotion I can't explain, and I could only, after talking to you, I could only put down the fact that I was so proud I'd run a marathon, and I didn't anticipate that. Hang on, that was an achievement. That was an achievement just to do it, and I kind of took that for granted a little bit as a runner. And I think people that are doing it for the first time, you're in for a great feeling when you've done it. Those that have done it previously, they know that feeling. But I know there's probably comparisons. But listen, this is why we do it. We do it because of that carrot at the end, that kind of that endorphin rush, that happiness feeling, that Sunday evening sitting there with a pint, just going, I did good today. I did really good. Pat ourselves on the back, and we did it all together as well.
Well, we wish you many endorphins for Sunday.
Yeah,
we wish you all the very best. It's been great having Chris, great having Jonny. So that concludes our British men's press conference. We will be back later at 2:30 for the wheelchair press conference. But again, a big thank you to Chris and a big thank you to Jonny.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.